Hello and welcome to I'll Try That podcast, where three best friends from the same hometown talk beer, beer news, and beer happiness.
I'll Try That, the beer review and news podcast.
Here in London.
Ding dong.
I was thinking about this last night in bed.
Smashed it. Brew for success.
As a soon-to-be fur daddy. Another one in the bag.
I'm vetoing that.
In this week's Pursuit of Hoppiness, we're going to be talking about a UK craft beer staple in Beavertown, and we'll be discussing their Gamma Ray, which is an American pale ale. But first, the hop topic. Everybody hop. The hop topic.
Okay, boys. What do you guys reckon is the biggest beer-related event, I'm going to say, in the world?
It has to be Oktoberfest.
100% it's Oktoberfest. There's some big news that's come out about Oktoberfest this year. It's been cancelled.
Devastated.
So this is the famous Oktoberfest hosted in September.
Yeah, in September, but finishes on the first Sunday in October. It's been cancelled. The mayor called it, and the boozy 2-week festival has been cancelled in Munich this year.
Which, let's face it, I'm not surprised. It's devastating, of course, but I'm not surprised given how we know of the Oktoberfest. It's a lot of people all together in huge beer halls erected where you have long tables full of people that sat there.
Surely, though, because of the way Oktoberfest is, it'd be impossible to do this. And it would not be the same atmosphere with the social distancing. So the idea of Oktoberfest is the bringing together of people to celebrate beer, right? And being able to do that in a socially distanced way would be so alien to the ideology of Oktoberfest.
Well, yeah, and it's a devastating thing because the amount of revenue that Oktoberfest brings each year. Can you give me a figure of what you think the 2-week festival brings into Munich?
$1 million.
$1 million.
In 2 weeks. That's a lot.
I'm just guessing.
It's not enough.
No, it's more.
Wow.
Yeah, Joe, you scoffed, but...
No, I was more like thinking... like
higher.
What's the foot count? Do we know this of how many?
6 million people.
Oh, okay. 6 million people coming into
Munich. Yeah.
Oh
so I would say, okay, so now I know the numbers, I'll have to say 20 million?
More than that.
50 million euros.
More than that. It brings in more than 1 billion.
What? That 2 weeks?
From the festival alone.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
I'm literally speechless with that. €1 billion in that 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. So this is around 6 million people attend the festival each year. And over 2 weeks, it brings in 1 billion.
That is mental.
For the whole of Munich. So this decision was made by the creator, the owner of, or the organizer. That's the word I was looking for. So this came around from the organizer and the mayor decided together that this was the best decision for the festival. And I have to agree with them. It is, in the current climate that we're going for, it would not be safe to bring that many people to one place.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's really sad because of what Oktoberfest is about and how amazing it is. But you wouldn't be able to control that. And I think that's the biggest issue, surely, is they probably made the decision that because you can't control the kind of population you'd be getting into one place so in a short space of time.
Well, I think going to its essence, this is kind of a great lightning rod to show how festivals, companies, countries have to adapt. This is 6 million people coming into an environment, potentially, €1 billion being created. Economically, this makes so much sense, but it doesn't make any sense when you're put it in this environment right now.
No. Sadly, though, the negative impact it's going to have is actually quite devastating. Like you've got to think about
to the local economy, to the German economy as a whole. I mean, thankfully, the German economy is doing fantastically, and they always they've been doing great for a long time. But I just think for these areas that rely on tourism, and Munich is not one of them. I'm not putting this category, but they have such an influence. 6 million more people, €1 billion into it. That's going to make a major impact if you don't get that every year.
I like to think, though, that finally when we do get through this pandemic and everything like that, I don't think Oktoberfest is going to be going anywhere. We're missing it for a year. It might not be the same over the next few years, but that's just the climate that we're in. But I think Oktoberfest will be back at some point in full force.
It'll be back in a vengeance, I think. And now for some pursuit of hoppiness.
So this week we're talking about Beavertown. And Beavertown has taken the UK craft beer scene by storm. Started in 2011, so it's very, very recent actually, and started by a man named Logan Plant. Now, for all you rock fans out there, might be recognizing the last name of Plant, and yes, Logan is the son of Robert Plant, the lead singer of Led Zeppelin.
Stairway to Heaven.
Is that how the tune goes?
No, but I just wanted to sing it like that anyway because I'm a big fan.
Love it.
If you're a fan, you'd surely know the tune.
I just wanted to sing the song.
So Beavertown is bread and butter here in London, right? They grew up and they created their whole name around borough in London.
Yeah, so for instance, Beavertown is actually a nickname for an area in Hackney, and they started as part of a barbecue restaurant. And the idea was Duke's Brew and Q. And so they actually started as in partnership with barbecue food, and that's where their first beers came from. Their first 4 beers, which you may know of as Neck Oil, if you know, actually came from the idea of pairing with barbecue food.
Which makes sense that this Gamma Ray, the one we're trying today, is an American pale ale. So again, they're linking back to this American pairing with barbecue food.
And this Gamma Ray actually started in 2012, and the artwork, I believe, was created from someone within their own company.
So yeah, there's a bloke called Nick who started off in their kitchen, in the barbecue bit, and what he used to do was he used to leave his sketchbooks purposely open, so Logan would walk past and actually look at it, and that was where he started off becoming. That's where the artwork started to get used. And he started off that they just used a few of his drawings here and there, but as the brewery grew and grew and the beer became more and more popular, they signed him on as, I believe the title was creative director. And he started on 3 days a week. He started, and he's still working in the kitchen. Then they realised it was a full-time job, so then he got full-time work as the illustrator for all of Beavertown's beer.
That is an incredible story. Like he's working in the kitchen, making the barbecue food.
Rags to riches.
But he's a talented artist, illustrator, which is incredibly important kind of area, but is not very highly paid until you get discovered. So he created an environment by being in here in this kitchen and showing the bosses, as it were, the owners of the company, hey, I can draw, and I can draw really interesting and cool designs for your brand.
So what's your thoughts on it? I mean, it's absolutely bonkers to me.
So it's psychedelic. That's the one of first thing that cuts strings to mind. Like Beavertown is known for its psychedelic illustrative art style, and it makes even more sense knowing that it's coming from Nick's head.
Yeah,
it's so wacky, isn't it?
So I really like it. So I don't think you guys have seen the table I built back home, and so they're all individual cans, and a lot of them are Beavertown illustrations. So they make the core of my table, and they're all different Beavertown illustrations. About 4 or 5 of the cans that have gone in there because they're just so fantastic.
So there's a lot of, for anyone listening, there's a lot of skulls. But they're quite like cutesy, arty skulls, if I can say that. Like they're kind of cartoonish style. I mean, this one is the Gamma Ray. So, of course, you've got like it's in space. It's a space scene. There's like flying saucers. There's ray guns being fired down.
Strong colours as well.
It's a lot of strong colours. It's very eye-catching. Yeah. Very eye-catching as a design. And this goes back to the printing technology on cans has really gone to the point now. It's really jumped a step, where you can do things like this. You can do these highly illustrative, you can paint an actual picture on cans rather than being limited to, in the printing world, different, like a minimal amount of stations, where you have like 2 or 3 stations. So you can have 2 colors and maybe a varnish on your printing cans. Whereas you're seeing a lot more often now, these can designs where they are using the aluminium can substrate behind as part of the design. So the alien space helmet is is this can behind. Like, it's just a picture, so that's his colour. You know, so they've used this silver as a way of creating a new colour, a new station on it. And I think that is just so creative. That's a great way of using, like, these are the limitations. We would love to give that space helmet a different colour, but given the limitations of printing on can, we're going to give it this silver, and it becomes part of the design.
I suppose I love looking at them. You always feel bad throwing them away at the end of finishing the beer. Or the ale, because you look at them and they are pieces of artwork. Which you look at a lot of other beer cans that we've drunk over time, and you're just like, yeah, fine, that's done. It's nice to look at, but hey ho. But these are fantastic. You could drink them and put them all on your shelf if you had a different one all the way along, and it'd probably pass as modern art somewhere.
Well, I think if you're into your craft ales, your craft beers, this is definitely one that you would want to cherish and have, because we haven't talked about the liquid yet, but just the illustration alone is so eye-dropping. And if you look at their website, it follows the same kind of wacky, psychedelic style design. And, you know, you go onto their Instagram and their Twitter as well, and they're obviously pulling that design across.
Now, with such a creative design, you think, how could people who have started with a barbecue restaurant start this? Now, they've actually got so big that they've moved to Tottenham, and they actually have they've actually bought two sites in Tottenham next to each other, which one side they call the wet side for production, and the other side they call dry side for ingredients and packaged beer. Now, they've connected themselves with Tottenham massively, with the fact that they've linked themselves with the local football team.
So you're talking about their new build in Tottenham Hotspurs, Premier League football clubs, the Spurs, their football stadium, their brand new, spanking new football stadium.
Which is one of the biggest football clubs in England at the time, at the moment. They're like top 8.
So they've actually got a brewery inside the stadium?
Yes. So they distribute and create, they have a brewery in the stadium itself, and they cater to 62,000 fans, which is the capacity of this new stadium. And they've been talking about, I guess this kind of links back to their sustainability, their responsibility. A recent FT Financial Times article was showing that, you know, a pint today costs the planet a fifth less than it did back in 2008. And Beavertown have been shown as one of the leading breweries in this kind of craft resurgence, based on this plant alone, because they've been, you know, able to halve the environmental impact of brewing process through this plant. And specifically, you know, it's created an environment where the state-of-art energy recovery system is how they refer to it. Little known, unknown fact is that actually it was funded £40 million worth by Heineken.
Crazy. Also, just to let people know, they made sure that when they created this venture, they actually created their own beer that is exclusively sold in the stadium, called One of Our Own, which is a 4.9 ABV beer. And they've actually made sure that it's only sold, which is incredible to hear, in a football stadium. Now, the football stadium itself is revolutionary, by the way. It also has an American football stadium underneath it. I'm not sure if you knew. It slides out. Yep. So it has the football pitch on top, the soccer, as you may know it, in America, that slides out into the car park, which has an American football stadium underneath.
So Americans may know Harry Kane, as, you know, he's very well known here in the UK, star striker of Tottenham Hotspur, but he's also really big for the England football team as well. But in the latest Super Bowl, he was over in the States, like there. Really? So it was a really big deal that Harry Kane was there, and apparently he's a big, big fan of American football. Not sure how much of that he's been paid to say he enjoys fun. But American football is great fun as well. It's an amazing sport in its own right. But, you know, that kind of link, it's obviously back to Spurs have created an environment where American football is important to them in Tottenham.
But to be linked with Beavertown is a big deal. And the fact that Beavertown have made this possible, and the fact that they've pushed it, and it's huge for them.
Well, I think just for anything, if you are the only supplier, or maybe they aren't the only supplier, but they're the main supplier for a whole football stadium of 62,000 people on any game day when the game days can happen again. That's huge. That's what volume that must be.
Crazy.
Behind that. So that's, but this is also, we're talking about a new craft brewer. These are the kind of partnerships and the kind of things that these craft brewers are doing, whereas the more traditional breweries wouldn't do this stuff.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. How long, when did they restart it? When did they start up? What was
2011.
2011. That's nothing. In the time that they've exploded and they've grown, it's along the same as like a Brewdog story sort of thing. They've just gone from strength to strength to strength, and to produce, I think this is one of my favourite pale ales. I'll throw it out there. I really, really like it. I tried it for the first time last time I was down with you guys. It was absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
As in, a lot of my friends tell me to try Beavertown, like constantly. They're always like, have you tried this Beavertown? Have you tried this Beavertown? It's something that I think is, in the UK, maybe it's mainly obviously there, but as in the UK, it's definitely blowing up.
So for me, I've only just got back into the UK in that, I've been out of the country for a long time. And I would say Beavertown wasn't really on my radar. Having come back, I felt the exact same thing that you had, in that people were saying, have you had Beavertown? It's a staple now. It's become all this thing. And I've tried it now, neck oil, and this is now their Gamma Ray, their American Pale Ale. I think the Pale Ale... Now, you were saying, Simo, the American Pale Ales because they use American hops in the brewing process, right? American Pale Ale, as a phrase, isn't really that distributed yet. It's not really well known in kind of outside of the craft brewing industry. If you're an American brewer, you just talk about making beer.
Right.
Whereas these craft beers are saying, we're using American hops. So naturally, you're saying, okay, well, it's a pale ale using American hops. It's an American pale ale. American pale ale is an international phrase for American beer.
Yeah.
An American version of a pale ale. So I know the likes of Carlsberg in Finland have an American pale ale, which it seems really clunky because if you're in America, you don't call it an American pale ale, you just call it a pale ale.
Right, okay. Yeah.
To call it an American pale ale is weird. But you have an APA in European countries because they're saying, it's a pale ale, but it's using American hops. We're making a really big point about our Americanness, which makes sense for these guys because they've come from barbecue.
But also, maybe it's also the fact that they're trying to be quirkier as well because they're quite a quirky company. So the idea that, like, we do interesting things. And they do a lot of interesting things, and also to work from that, they do a lot of collaborations. And actually, recently they've done a collaboration. So all their beers are named after planets. So they have like Saturn, and they have Jupiter, they have Mars, and it's actually collaborations with.
Sorry, all their beers are?
No, as in, so they do collab beers. They do something called special selection one-off beers. They do seasonal specials, and one of their sections of their beers is called collab beers, and they work with microbreweries, so smaller companies, and they make a beer with them, which I think is amazing.
That's great exposure
it's
for those
so
companies.
Cool. And so, for instance, I've got Neptune here, which is a collaboration. So they do a Neptune, they do a Uranus, they do a Saturn, they do a Jupiter, they do a Mars, and it's always working with another company to make something unique. And I think
each one of those planet-named beers is with a different, smaller microbrewery than themselves.
Yes.
So they're using their success to help and bring exposure to these smaller breweries.
Yeah, so for instance, the Mars is brewed in collaboration with Brew York, which is a smaller company. So again...
In York?
Yes.
So you say they've done all these other collaborations as well, but they've also branched out into some other stuff that isn't it's kind of beer related, but also in a very different direction. So they made some ice lollies.
I love that.
Explain.
Which are named, or I'm assuming, I can't quite tell, but it looks like they're flavoured after all of the ales that they've created as well.
That is amazing.
So I know that we've had a very recent heat wave here in the UK, and I know this was something they recently pumped out.
Yeah.
So so very up to the minute of, there's a heat wave. What can we do? Make ice lollies named after our beers.
Yeah.
Maybe they've got the flavours of said beers as well.
Definitely try some, I reckon.
Which sounds incredible.
They've got the neck oil, the Gamma Ray, the Nanobot, and the Bloody Hell.
Do you reckon they've literally... I would be interested.
What was that? The last one, Bloody Hell?
Bloody Hell.
Yeah, Bloody Hell, which is an orangey one, Joe.
It's called Bloody Hell.
Bloody Hell, that's an amazing name as a very Cockney...
Yeah.
So Joe,
Cockney rhyming slam.
So that one is used with blood orange.
Oh, love a bit of blood orange.
So, yeah.
Yeah, blood oranges. Very good in beers.
So I think it's worth talking about what these guys do community-wise. So one thing that they've started, which is the tap rooms. They do a lot of tap rooms, and they have a special one called the Tempest Project tap room, where they use special selected ones where you can go investigate that. They also do comedy at the COVID Arms, which... started as a joke amongst friends where they had a Zoom meeting when they couldn't go to a pub, and they thought, you know what, let's get people involved, and they made it so they got comedians to be part of the situation, and you could sit and have comedy whilst drinking. Obviously, Beavertown is the idea. And the front
Online?
row... all online, and the front row can interact with the comedian.
How would a front row interact online?
So you paid a little bit extra,
Right.
and the front row could visibly see, and could, like as in a Zoom, whilst the others were just in the background.
Oh, I see. So they're creating different price tickets
Yes.
within that, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
Because that happens automatically when you go to a comedy show
Exactly.
or a music theatre or whatever, but they've been able to do that in a virtual sense as well.
And I think it's really good as well because they've said, people are missing out on the pub experience and they wanted to continue that. And I think that's a really cool idea. One, obviously, for making money, but also the idea of involving your community, which is getting bigger and bigger. I think it's really clever.
Right, so what do we think of the liquid, this American Pale Ale Gamma Ray?
I love it. I will throw that out there, and I think so far, since recording all these podcasts, this is my favourite beverage we have tried so far.
Wow.
For me, I really like the taste, but it catches in the back of my throat a little bit. I do think that it's something that I may not be able to have a lot of.
I think I'm picking the 5.4% ABV up. I think I'm picking the fact that this is... you can flavour. Like, we get flavour. This is a very flavoursome, full beer. And as I don't really know and understand the difference between a pale ale and American pale ale, other than obviously the naturalness of you're having a hops from America made in it. But it's not as smooth as a normal pale ale. I think a normal pale ale that I'm used to from a craft brewer is smoother than this one. This is quite punchy.
I think that's why I like it. I like the punchiness that comes through. We drink a lot of British pale ales and they're smooth, and I'm a big pale ale fan just in general. But there's something that it hits the tongue, and I like the way it feels. And I love the taste. I'm just a big fan. It's very strong, it's impactful, and it's just, you're drinking something nice.
I am going to say this though, that I'm really glad it comes in 330 milliliter cans and nothing bigger. I think that I couldn't handle too much of this drink in terms of the fact that I do feel like I feel it when I drink it. I know that I'm drinking a hefty, something it's not necessarily hefty, but I know that I'm glad it comes in 330s, basically.
It's a craft ale, isn't it, that we're used to now, and it's got a lot of flavour. And if I'm honest, I'm really excited to try some of their other products. Their neck oil that we talked about before, or we alluded to. Like, I know that's the number one selling beer out of this Beavertown Brewery, so I'm excited to try that one. So I think kind of noting for a newer company as well, their Instagram and Twitter followers. Instagram, they've got 108,000. 108,000 followers, and Twitter it's 61.4.
That's massive. Well, we've talked about other companies, and
I think you can see from that why they've got so big. They're doing the right things and making great quality beers and being different. They're investing in the areas and the channels that consumers of this beer are interacting with. 104,000 people.
That's a lot of people, because we've done some bigger brewers and they are nowhere near that. Nowhere near
It's
that.
crazy.
I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean success, but it also just means...
Well, it means people know about them.
People know about you, and if you can create excitement and demand for your beer, then you just have to deal with supply.
Yeah.
Which is the best. Honestly, as a business owner, I just need to make sure I can get it to you. That's an amazing situation to be in.
Oh, damn it. You want more? Okay.
Exactly. So as always, we'll put the links in the description for Beavertown, their website, their Instagram, Twitter, and their Untapped. As a fantastically new beer that's really big here in the UK, I'd encourage anyone and everyone outside of the UK to at least experience and have a look at these illustrations that are crazy. Totally. And also, if you're in the UK, definitely try them out. And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe,
Rich,
and Simo,
goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now. Always drink responsibly, and if you or anyone else needs some help, go to drinkaware.co.uk for more information.